Happy winter solstice 2022. Welcome to my channel. My name is Lana Labonte and you are in my living room, at least virtually. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If this is your first time here, just know that I am here to support, uplift, inspire, and hopefully that empowers you to be the best version of you you're meant to be. Just maybe by virtue of hearing some of my personal experiences and my journey, because that's where I share from. I come from that place of, I only speak of what I know because I've experienced it personally. I don't try to fake the funk. I'm just here to be real. Because isn't that what it's all about? I mean, why are we faking the funk anyway? What happened to authenticity? Like, why not just be you? Because if you don't be you, who else would be you? You got to be true to you. Got to be the best version of you, because that's what you're here to do. We're not here to play roles of others. Yeah. Hi, Carly. Happy Yule, Capricorn season. I'm a Capricorn moon. A little hard on myself. I got my own little set of rules internally, you know how that goes. But in all essence, I have a pretty strong work ethic when it comes down to it. I am not just your average. You know, I'm a cat of many lives. Leo, August 1st. Hi, Erin. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight, I am just feeling really, really accomplished. And it's a random. I'm just like, oh, should I go? Should I go live? And I thought, yeah, I'm going to go live. And I'm going to share what I've been going through. You're going to hear the little clink, clink, clinking of my little dingle-dangle earrings. Yeah, those are noisy, especially when the mic's right there. So, what a shift in energy we just had in less than a week's time. If you watched my last live from last week, I'm taking a break. If you couldn't have noticed, I've been going and uploading something every day, but then I was like, you know, I went, we're going to slow down. I don't have to post every single day. As much as I like to stay in connection and in communication, that's my passion, communication, fine-tuning, being clear, you know, receptive, receiving, and articulating, communication in the sense of languaging. I grew up with a mother who was very, very, it might have sounded very harsh to some, but I'm extremely grateful because my mother would make sure that we were clear. What are you trying to communicate to me? What are you trying to articulate? She would get us to get the dictionary out. You don't know the name, you know, these days everybody's like, Google it. You know, ask Siri, ask whatever, Alexa, whatever devices you've got, right? They're all listening. My mother, we were raised in libraries. I grew up, you know, the Dewey Decimal System, you knew where to look, resourceful, you just walked down an aisle and all these amazing books at your fingertips. You know, we had Encyclopedia Britannicas in my house. Little. We grew up with Encyclopedia Britannicas in my home. And we had some of the oldies. We actually had another set of encyclopedias that came from my dad. I mean, my dad and my mom, and we had some old stuff. We had Lionel trains. Those were my dad's trains. That's a sore subject with him. So if he watches this video, he's like, argh. But anyway, going back to the books, because I was raised and grew up, books were like, seriously, in our home, that was wealth. Mostly because my mother was a triple Sag. She was all about research, truth seeker, you know, eye on the prize. She, you know, the whole Sag with their bow and arrow. And so, and funny story too, I used to have a brass bed that was so high up, kind of like the Princess and the Pea. It's kind of a comical thing. But anyway, I would take this, I took all the Britannicas, the Encyclopedia Britannicas, and I made stairs out of them to get up into my bed. So it was kind of a funny story about my childhood. So I would say that I was probably not even a teenager at that point, but we had fun times growing up. And so going back to the books. Books are powerful because you just never know. You can't change what's already written in front of your face. But in this day of digital age, and me coming from an IT background over here, who back in the day when they used to, when they first started these tickets by, camera, speed traps and everything else. Now, I lived in Europe, and the Europeans were fighting those from the beginning. They said that's an infringement on my privacy, and they were fighting them from the beginning. But the interesting thing is when I first had my first camera light in DC, taxation without representation, I went in to fight it. And my whole purpose was because you can take a picture, but that doesn't prove anything. A picture doesn't prove the speed. A picture of your car doesn't mean they were given permission. And there's a whole lot around this. But anyway, I basically had doctored a picture, and if I can do it, I'm not saying that it's true or it's false. My point is that should not be evidence. It should not be submitted as evidence, because initially you have a camera taking a picture of you. Nobody is there. You're supposed to be given your opportunity to confront your so-called accuser. The only accuser is a camera. So from that start, that's where all of a sudden now technology has more relevance and more trust. When did we allow that? We allowed it when we let that stuff start slipping in. Oh, I don't have time. See, I came from the generation of when they used to write tickets out, handwritten tickets. You could always find some snafu, flaw, and I would write letters because my mom's like, listen, perfect example. Back in the day, this is kind of a funny story too. I had a Maine driver's license. I was working in DC, Maryland, DC. I got stopped in Virginia. Typical speed trap. I had Nebraska tags. You want to talk about messing with a cop. You got a Maryland address, you got a Nebraska tags, and you got a Maine state driver's license. So of course, 𝐁𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐲. He messed up. And so all I had to do was write a letter, and it got thrown out. Nobody does this stuff anymore. It used to be back in the day, for every one person that complained, that spoke up, there were at least 10 that didn't. I would venture to gather at this point in the stage in the game that there's thousands of people for every one person that speak up. And the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Don't get mad when someone else speaks up just because you didn't think about it or you didn't have the courage to speak up. And that's where we're at now. Whether it is fighting a traffic ticket, calling a credit card company to ask for, a reversal of funds, or let's say you get a late fee. Do you know how many people do not call up, and they make money off of people's ignorance and their inability to stay and keep track of their stuff? Whatever the late fee could be, $15, could be $3, could be $48, it could be whatever the fee is assessed. That's just one person. Multiply that by all the people with credit who don't ever pay attention. And so they rack up not only the interest, but now you get a fee on top of the interest. I was raised to always ask. And you know what? A lot of people get uncomfortable when other people ask because they don't feel worthy. They kind of project that unworthiness upon you. And so as this theme of me speaking is coming up, something I sat with earlier today, and I was really relieved. I was like, wow, there have been so many times in my life that because I come from a leadership role, ever since I was a little girl, I've always stepped up into the leadership role. A lot of people cannot do that. It takes a lot of courage. And for some of us, it comes naturally. Some people assume it may be arrogance, but it's actually a form of confidence because you're willing to do what other people aren't willing to do. And the rub that they have is they themselves internally and unconsciously want to be that brave, but they can't because something inside of them, they are convinced they have been programmed, conditioned, and they believe it. That's their BS, their story, their belief system, that they've bought into that they can't do. You know how many people live their lives held back by their own BS, their belief systems? And then they get mad at those around them as they play the victim of their own shit, their own BS. But they get upset because others are showing them what they're capable of. Now, this is just an unlearning. I had to go through this several times throughout the course of my life. It takes the awareness, the willingness to see the things that we don't always want to see, to hear the thoughts we don't always want to hear. It's an unpacking. It's an unraveling. It's a peeling away the layers. Because, you know, it's all cumulative. It builds up. It creates. We create a shell, you know, as humans, as we go through traversing this life, this existence. We start out with one layer of conditioning, and then another layer of conditioning, and then another. And so this whole path of healing or shadow work or whatever you want to call it, the spiritual journey, it's the human life. It's the human existence. It is the soul having a human experience. And it really does, if you go back to your childhood, you came in pure. You came in at a high vibration. It got dampened with those layers of conditionings. We've all been through it. But it's this willingness to peel back those layers and to come back to that purity that will raise your vibration back to where you came from in the beginning. You know, so many people will look at these masters, these gurus, these teachers. You don't think they had to go through the same thing? Come on. Every single one of them. Just like when you see someone who's successful, do you think they got successful overnight? You know what success is? It's the willingness to make choices that appear like mistakes and keep going, because they know that one choice doesn't lead to a failure. It's many choices that lead to success. That there's no such thing as failure. There's no such thing as mistakes. Maybe a mistake, but you can always choose again. So when you think you've lost an opportunity, there'll always be another. If you think you've went 10 steps back, maybe you shuffled to the right or the left. You don't know. Quit judging it. Quit labeling it. Can you just be? Remember, in my previous videos, I mean, really what I've been discussing a lot ever since the untethered soul reawakened some things in me, it reminded me that our thoughts are simply problems seeking to be solved. So every thought you have is taking you out of the present, taking your presence and your power out of the now and projecting it future or into the past. When it goes into the past, it's wallowing. It goes into deep rest, depression, comparison mode. Same thing with the future. When it goes into the future, it's anticipating something based on the past. Your energy is hijacked at that point. Whatever thoughts you're having that you're projecting your energy toward, allowing yourself to be hijacked, some call it the 𝐕𝒐𝒂𝒌. I'm so glad I reheard that again because I hadn't heard that for years. It's an old indigenous knowledge that it's the mind virus. And the real war that's going on in anywhere, it's in the mind. The battle of the mind is the biggest battle. And just breaking down words, you can discern and delineate and recognize. See with real eyes. Realize, 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 realize. Clarity and vision, crystal clear. With the willingness to be present, you'll seek. Your seeking doesn't need to be sought, right? If you are present in the now, everything exists in this moment. Everything that has been or will be comes from here. Can you be so present? You can feel it all at once. So again, I've always asked many questions. I've been a seeker in the sense of within, because I know the truth is if I go within, I won't go without. That everything I need is inside of me. Oh, sure, you know, we're gonna fall off the wagon. This past week, when I did that last video, energies were really, really heavy. I'm not saying they're not still, but there's been a shift. There's been a massive shift. Last week, I kind of got caught off guard because I gave the credit company that I had charged my pet buddies vet treatment, which they insisted I pay up front. So they were already about the money. That should have been my clue at the time. Anyway, I thought that the credit company would side with me because I have an independent veterinarian who could see clearly through the blood work that they were negligent. Now there's a form of fraud there, charging someone for a service and they didn't deliver on the service. Now they're claiming I signed the terms and conditions, so of course, you know, this is all about money for them. Long story short, I do have another resource because there are resources. Don't ever let someone say no to you and take that as your final answer. When you feel something strong enough, pursue it. And anyway, this past week, last week when I made the video, I went through a wave of this sucks, you know, it really sucks because on top of this, I've been bullied and attacked on my character, my mental health, not one sense of remorse of I'm sorry for your loss from this veterinarian or this clinic. Everything from being called a crazy hippie and just assuming, because you should read the letters and the stuff that's in actual writing, boy, I mean, as it stands, I'll be straight up. Because of the behavior of this individual, I genuinely was concerned for my safety at my own home because of her behavior toward me. And the fact that who does that? Kick someone when they're already down. When you're grieving a pet loss, you would think somebody in that health care, there's no care, there's no health. It's sick and it's money, and they make money off of sick. So it's such a deception to use the languaging to even give the impression that they're there for health care, when in reality it's money, it's actually sick welfare, you know. So I'm only bringing this up because it kind of tweaked me last week, and it's like people just assume, and this past year was really tough, you know, like I said earlier in other videos, basically, that there have been times when I really needed people, I needed people's support, and there weren't a lot of people. There were literally a handful of people. You know, I had got all these messages about, oh, you know, since your surgery, I'll come and visit you. Oh, if you need anything, let me know. And I'm telling you, at my dismay, I don't know if it's because social media has become such a surface level, oh, you know, likes and hearts and all this stuff. But yet when the going gets tough, it's all crickets out there. It's almost like what people don't realize they've been, again, the 𝐕𝐞𝐭𝐞𝐫, this hijacking, that real human engagement, humans to humans, when you get that, that's a gift. The presence. Once again, we're coming back to the power of the now, because your power is in the now. It's not in the past and it's not in the future. When you get an actual human-to-human interaction, that's gold. That's gold. Social media these days, you get all sorts of people being all like, oh, I'll pray for you, you know, prayer train. Oh, I'm sending you blessings. Oh, you know, I hope you're doing okay. It's all like showy. It's no different than it has been in the past. Now you just really on like fleek, social media. And it feels even faker than it ever was. I mean, this all started with these so-called reality TV things. Everybody wants to be an influencer. Everybody wants to be out there, but how authentic are you in it? Are you truly showing up as the real you? Or are you just faking the funk? Look at me. I'm a good person because I put a like on someone's show, or I put their happy birthday on their page. Or just like holidays, holy days or holly ritual days. so many people have bought into the consumerism, but it's been guilted into them. I tell my loved ones, I'm like, listen, I can't. If there is something that stands out that I know you will like, I do this year round. I don't need a holly ritual day to suck me into the consumerism. I spend time with the people I care about the most, and to me that's rich. That's gold. Treasuring and valuing and being present with another person, you can't get back time. All that other stuff is superficial. And I think that if anything, these past several years, people should have woken up to what's a real priority in your life. If not this past year, right? I know for myself, that's really been at the forefront. And so I'll go back to, I have had to recognize that being someone who comes from I'm going to stand up and step up because that's just naturally who I am. That's authentically who I am. If I see a need, I'm going to try to fill it as much as possible. Hey, I've had my moments where maybe I didn't follow through fully, or maybe it just didn't resonate any longer, so it was no longer worth pursuing. I'm not going to force myself on anyone or anything. But I have also noticed where, and it's really sad because again, it brings that awareness that not everybody has to like you. It's like, oh, that sucks. It sucks being judged, like I said in the last video. But that it's a lot of envy and jealousy that often leads to people's lack of support for you. Or, you know, if they don't value themselves, they're not going to value you. And if you don't value you, they're not going to value you. So I've had, this past year has been all about me recognizing where was I not valuing myself enough. I've done a couple really, really powerful videos in the beginning of the year, especially after my surgery, because of the die off, the fall off of people that I thought were truly close friends weren't really as close as I thought they were. It was more, again, a superficial, surface level type relationship. And I didn't recognize that in the moment because I still have that childlike naivete. I'm the one who's like, yeah, oh, fun, play. Like my inner child recognizes your inner child. So my inner child's like, yay, let's play. That's who I am. If you really get to know me, you're in my inner circle. Everybody thinks I'm like goofy. And because that's who I am. That's how I like to be. Playful, genuine. My little inner child loves to come out and play. Let's go dance. Let's go down to the beach. Let's go do stuff. Because that's what lights me up. And that's what I like to be infectious with. So I want to bring that out of other people because I know that's what the world needs more of, is more play. The seriousness is not remembering who we are to begin with, why we're here. So my leadership is all about, let me pull the play out of you. Come on. And sometimes I'm met with resistance and I'm like, oh, my inner child goes, oh, I'm sorry. I want you to play, but I can't force you. If your older human isn't tending to you, I can't force that. So I have compassion for that. And today I was reminded, I'm like, wow, you know, it wasn't that they didn't value me. That's what it really turned out to be. That in reality, it was the fact that somehow, unconsciously, they don't realize it even, probably don't. A lot of times it's unconscious. That when someone is jealous of you or envious of you, of your ability to be strong in who you are and just, you know, no excuses, no apologies, just, hey, this is who I am, here I am. Because you make it look easy. I don't see why it should be so hard, by the way. The more authentic you are, it's less exhausting. I don't know how people can put on a show and a fake whatever. It just doesn't resonate for me. So what I was finding, and I had a flashback, I was like, wow, it wasn't that they didn't value me. It's that they were projecting onto me their own lack of value for themselves. Now that's a whole 180 because I had to sit through, and I'm not saying I was good with all that. It was just a reinforcement of where I was at with something in particular, in a couple of relationships that had to die off. I'm like, wow. Whenever someone tries to tell you who you are, what you're doing, or how they're feeling because of you, whatever it is, whether it's conscious or unconscious, as long as you're true to you, it is not your responsibility to explain yourself, to defend yourself, to give a whole story around why you're the way you are. In my past, I would be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Is there something I can do? What? Oh, I did this because of such and such. I thought, blah, 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 blah. You know, zip it. Quit it. Hello? Anybody? Let me know in the comments. Like, are you one of those? Because that's a people pleasing. That's a fear of rejection. That is a whole slew of old drama trauma. I'm speaking from my experience. Hello, little microphone. Because I've done it. Even from a perspective of, you know, I want you to see that I'm a human and that I also think of you, right? Think of others first. Oh gosh, that one comes from deep-seated psychosis of religion, people. Don't think of anybody else, but you're not supposed to think of yourself because that's selfish. That's what we've been taught. Think of others first. Just a question. If everybody's thinking of everybody else, but telling everybody else don't think of yourself, think of others, who's actually thinking about you? Just asking for a friend. You see the crazy psychology of that BS? I stopped buying into that a long time ago. I stopped doing the charity thing, especially after the whole scandal with Red Cross. And because I used to be heavily involved in all the cancer stuff. Susie Komen, you know, like all that stuff. I used to volunteer. When I was in the Air Force, I was at so many different volunteering events. I volunteered security for concerts. I volunteered it because it was a thing in the military. And I love to give back. I love to contribute. You meet amazing people. And then one day you wake up and you find out about nonprofits. It's very deceptive in the languaging though, but they're not making a profit. How do you think they get those big bonuses at the end of the year? You know what nonprofit means? It means they use up all the money at the end of the fiscal year. However that looks, doesn't matter. That there's no money on their books at the end of the year. So usually what that means, and I worked for a nonprofit, and that's how I really learned. This was my first job out of the Air Force. I was working for a nonprofit. There was a government contract, working up at no such agency. And sure enough, I got a bonus at the end of the year. In fact, I made more money with the nonprofit. Actually, I made more money after that, but still. I'm just trying to get people to be more curious. Ask more questions. Question everything you think you know. Anything anybody ever says to you. Don't trust anything I say. You got to find out for you. Question what you think you know. What you think you're going to know. Like, question it all. Because if you don't question it and you just accept things as they are, that's the easiest way to be led to slaughter. Or, you know, lemmings off of the cliff. I was just raised in a way that always ask. If you don't know, what, it never hurts to ask. And the person who asks the question, at least you get an answer. You might not like the answer, a yes or a no, you know, where do you stand? I'd rather know where I stand than end up falling for what it is someone else has decided for me. And that's been my lesson in life is, you know, when I didn't speak up and I didn't ask questions, that's when it bit me in the ass the most. It was the worst. So the more I asked questions, sure, I was met with a lot of resistance, especially when you work with the military and the government. And when you ask questions, sometimes authority figures, people in those positions think that they've got to prove themselves by keeping you not in the know and what have you. It just shows the toxicity of the environment, that's all. But essentially, you can still meet resistance and be okay with that too. Can you be okay with the discomfort of asking questions that make others uncomfortable? Because that's what life is about, is asking the hard questions so you can have clarity. Because it's not about whether or not someone's comfortable when you need to know something. Think about that for a moment. How many people feel uncomfortable, so they want to ask a question for clarity so they can feel a sense of safety and security, but yet most people hold out, back off, and for the sake of their safety and security, they give in to the fact that they don't want to make others feel uncomfortable. Whose fault is that? And who really suffers? You're not responsible for how they feel. You can't determine it, let alone think you're saving them when you're not saving yourself. So it's just like we talk about, hey, when the oxygen mask appears, you better put it on yourself first. Chances are 9 times out of 10, when you ask the hard questions, it ends up being a question that helps others too. So no matter how uncomfortable it may make others around you, if you need clarity on something, be willing to ask. If you don't ask, it only comes back on you. Where did that come from? Someone out there needed to hear it, right? So in the future, always ask yourself, is it about people pleasing? Or is it about the trajectory of your life and where you're headed and where you need to go? Be honest with yourself. Honesty, best policy, but it better start within. Otherwise, you go without. So again, question everything you think you know, everything you're told, everything. If you got questions, ask. Never hurts to ask a question. Squeaky wheel gets the oil. If you don't ask, somebody else might ask the question. They might get something that you were wanting to ask for. So be the one who's courageous enough and willing to step up when necessary. And that's with everything in life. So courage, and this is a crazy time. So today I just felt so accomplished. Some waves came up because I was sharing my situation with somebody earlier, the story about my dog and how I'm like, it's really disgusting that I would even feel like I'm being bullied. It's like, I'm already grieving. I'm still grieving the loss of my dog. And I've got this vet who's attempted, not even attempted, has this bullying attitude. And I'm like, I can forgive, but when someone's down and you're still kicking them and you got your money, I mean, it's disgusting. It's icky. I don't think people really see what they do. I really do not sometimes. On the same token, I still see the hard situation I had to deal with, and also the connecting of the dots and why things unfolded the way they did. During that time was really challenging because I had just given him his flea medication. He got sick right after it. Then I had to go into the hospital for my surgery. Everything was happening at once. I didn't have the support. My neighbor didn't want to alarm me. She didn't know what to do, and she was even concerned. She told me later. And then, like I said, I stayed with a friend for a couple weeks and then came home to the dog being sick. And, I'm trying to tend to myself and my poor baby. And there's only so much a person can do by themselves. Even if I got my shit together as it appears, I didn't have it as well together as I'd like to think I could have during that time, because I was grieving a body transformation. My heart was super tender. My dog was sick and I didn't know what to do. And then I brought him to the vet, and the vet was like, worthless. $600 for, oh, well, we don't know. We need more money. We want $700 more and no guarantees. Like back in the day, this is a whole really sick business. And I don't want to harp on this very much longer. So I'm saying that. But I just want you to recognize, when I was younger, I had pets. I know a lot of people love their animals because I've had animals for all of my life. My previous dog, Angel, she was 17 and a half when I put her to sleep. She was a lab husky. Everybody says to me, oh, that's a long life. I'm like, our family dog was a full-bred lab, and he was 17 when he went to sleep and didn't wake up. Because we had animals that were treated well. But see, Pooch, our family dog, also, he was raised up in the north of Maine. And he would bring home carcass. He would roll around in deer. Like, he was a dog out in the woods. But he also had the home, right? Angel, you know, she didn't have that. And I fed her what was on the market for dog food. A lot of people don't know that the ingredient list is pre-cooked. So when you look at your nutritional information on there, you're trying to figure out what are the benefits of the nutrients they're going to get in this food. It's all prior to their cooking it and putting it in the bag. And that makes me wonder about human food too, that is generally recognized as safe, GRAS. I mean, like, I've been down these rabbit holes. I'm just giving you some little seeds to plant. Do your own research. That the majority of food that's pre-cooked or processed or prepared, anything in a package, anything with a shelf life will shorten your life, right? The truth is people don't realize this. And if you don't read the ingredients, like all these oils are what cause us to age. They're not healthy. And the majority of the stuff that's in there is genetic modified crap. So even with Angel, her last couple of years, I mean, I was preparing food by hand and everything, but it's a lot of food, a lot of processing to do, a lot of preparing. And then with Buddy, and he wasn't even 10 yet. He just turned 10 after he passed. And he had all these tumors in his body, like all these growths. And so, you know, they could say, well, he probably had cancer. What do you think gave it to him? They don't want to take any accountability. And in the business of vets, they're not just the doctor, they're also the pharmacist. They're dispensing a known substance with a history. And so they're prescribing too. And usually that's a double whammy, but they'll tell you, oh, you need to go back to the manufacturer. Okay, yeah, but you're the one who dispensed it to me. Anyway. Okay. That's what I dealt with this past week. And so I am still pursuing it. Because, you know what? It wasn't right. And that no matter what, you know, so many people, she trolled my Facebook. I actually started to wonder if she was the reason my Facebook got disabled. Because it's so easy to be a bully these days. A keyboard warrior. You can report anyone and never have to be accountable for that. I know this from my military background stuff. So I'm like, But see, karma is what it is. And what you do, you put out there, it will ricochet back. It will boomerang. I'm not attacking anybody's character. I have never gone after them per se. I didn't even dare I actually ended up pulling what I wrote up on my page, my personal profile, the one that got disabled, specifically because she trolled me with a fake account. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this. So I took it down. But I have screenshots of the text messages she sent me calling me, well, I was called a crazy hippie. And she told me that I'm sorry you needed a service dog and that you should seek your mental health doctor or what have you. I'm like, wow, this person's insane. I'm more sane than that. Like, you don't attack someone's mental health. That's how messed up this world is right now. Anyway, okay. Interestingly, I had a beautiful day. I got a lot accomplished. I'm excited because I have a special women's only retreat. It's a mini retreat. It's a new year. It's a new you. And this is going to be me providing this beautiful opportunity for women to come together in a sacred circle. I'm getting my gong in the next week, so I'm super excited about that. We will be doing a rebirthing. I will be giving you a full, well, for those of you who show up, a full gong layout, a yoga nidra, and we're going to be doing vision boards. So we're going to do a vision board journey. We're going to be dancing and celebrating. And then the message that came through the other day was to also meet up over the course of the year to support one another in carrying those vision boards and those intentions for the new year forward, so that we support each other going forward after the new year. So not only will it be us creating these vision boards and sitting around and speaking and supporting one another in the vision board circle at the very end with some special little goodies as well. It will also be something we can help each other through over the next year, because that's what I think ends up being the drop-off. You know, you go and you get all these great ideas, you put together a vision board, and then what do you do with the vision board? Do you put it somewhere you can see it every day? Are you reminding yourself of what it is you are working toward, or are you embodying it? So that's the other thing, you know, it's all about embodiment. That's where dancing comes into play. Like, we were going to celebrate it, we're going to embody it, we're going to move. This is what I love, is creation. Creation is something that starts from within, right? We all have a womb. Doesn't have to be a male or a female. Of course, not everybody can have and birth a baby through it, but you still have that creative source within you, because that is what we all are. We all come from the womb. There's so much being birthed through those of us who are on this planet. The question is how intentional you are with what it is you're here to bring to the world. Or are you blindly allowing yourself to be the vessel for someone else's intention? So when I speak in terms of this vision board creation, this envisioning, I want you to think about going within yourself and truly pulling out your soul's vision, because a lot of times it's more powerful than you realize, or what you've been thinking the whole time. And it's going to come out doing this. You envision, not envision. It's something that comes from within. Intention, into me I see, intuitively you receive, allow. That's the deep listening that meditation is really all about. You know, prayer is to ask, and to meditate is to listen intently, deeply, and allow yourself to be inspired. In, again, all comes from within. Spirit, the breath. Ispirazione. That's how I like to say it. It's not actually that. Anyway, and I'm excited because this is a really sweet gong, and I just can't wait to share my gifts, the ones that I haven't been fully able to share in my sweet little space that I am birthing here. So that is my intention for women moving forward through this year, that it really is tapping into your inner creative womb, the womb dome, okay? We are womb men, right? You know where woman came from, because we have the womb. And so to me, the womb dome is something that I have been birthing for a long time. And funny enough, domes, geodesic domes, have the shape of the honeycomb. This is a beautiful gift that my girlfriend gave me the other day. So I had a spontaneous meeting up with a girlfriend of mine, and most people in my circle know about the bee that is very special to me. It's been coming for a long time. My nickname is Queen Bee, and my sister and I are very much into doing this beekeeping, as well as, it turns out my last name, Labonte, there's actually a family that has bee apiaries up in Quebec area. And then I think so on my dad's side too, Portuguese. So look at this piece of fluorite with the bee and the honeycomb. This is a crystal. I don't know if you can see all the light come through that. There's some purple coming through here. And fluorite is amazing. It's a sweet protective stone for healers as well. I know that. This is one of my first big pieces of crystal was a fluorite. It's hard to see with my yellow too. This is just absolutely gorgeous. Imagine, it's got to be laser cut is my theory. That is just so gorgeous. I was like, oh my gosh. She goes, I wouldn't have gotten you anything, but this just came. She said, but you and your bees, it was in my face. And this is so sweet. It's a perfume. Bee Priestess. Look at this. This is from the Sage God. I think it's a sage goddess here in Florida. This blend smells so good. And there is honey in it. So, bees, the hum of the bees is the hum of the universe. Slow down and just be still when you can. What you hear in your ears sometimes is not ringing. The hum of the bees, that is the vibration of humanity, of nature. Really tap into that one time or another, you know, just every once in a while, just consider there's more to it. That's such a powerful little creature is capable of sustaining and maintaining. We don't want to lose our bees. Why do you think a lot of people have been concerned about when the bees drop off? Just putting that seed. You want to do a little research. I'm not going to go into too much depth here right now. But that really made my day the other day, was spending that time with my girlfriend. And then today I spent some time with a couple other girlfriends, and we were talking about authenticity and purity and how beautiful it is that we are lucky to have a community and a space here in the area where we live, that we can meet up in spaces that we feel like, wow, you know, it doesn't matter what's going on in the world. You know why? Because all is right here. All is right here. And we can be aware of what's going on out there, but we don't let it take us out of here. We don't let it take a piece out of our piece. We don't translate pieces being fragmented from the external. If anything, we seek to fill our cups and maintain our peace perfectly here. Here in the now, where our power resides, our presence is the gift, is when you're present. So, yeah. And then I met this was the highlight of my night. So I have a new stone, a new ring. This is so cool. If you know me, I'm a 𝐒𝐿𝐻 girl. It's all about the dolphin energy. This is a reversible ring. I don't know if you've ever seen these before. This is a piece of pink coral. It was the prettiest one I could find with the matching prettiest 𝐒𝐿𝐻. It flips. Look at this. Have you ever seen that? Ever seen a ring like that? It has a little bit more opulence, a little bit more translucence in this. Almost looks like a chrysoprase, the way, or like an opal, the way that the glimmer is hitting it. But this is a 𝐒𝐻. See how that has a little opalescence to it. But boy, it's so pretty. So I can wear it like that. I know my hands are a little chewed up because I did some yard work and been doing some work out back. And then I went to Hobby Lobby. Have you all been in there? Oh my goodness. It's on a lot of stuff on sale. Oh, but going back to this. So I went in, and I didn't really mean to get emotional about Buddy, but I shared about, you know, how it's been kind of rough this past week. And, you know, not only did I lose my dog, but I've got a vet who has no remorse and just seems to keep trying to kick me down while I'm grieving. I guess there's something on my shirt. Anyway, I met this wonderful woman. Her name was Liz, and her husband, Mark. She used to be a government employee, and he used to work in some of the areas I used to work in. He worked for DARPA. Oh, did we have some fun conversations. We didn't even want to leave each other. They're an older couple too. They used to live up in Maryland in the DC area, right around where I was, because we all worked in those same environments. And it was like, we were like, oh my gosh. It was like having to drag us and tear us apart because we could clearly have talked for hours. And it was fun and it was playful. And she was talking about initially, before Mark came in and I met him, she was talking about how she was watching some show on the news, and it was talking about a declassified program. And she goes, "Hey, Mark, come in and see this." And she said he got this Cheshire cat grin on his face. She goes, "That was a program you worked on, wasn't it?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, oh, and then we talked about a couple things. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know exactly which ones you were working on because I was working on the same type. So it was really, really fun. I love that type of stuff, is really like connecting and having real conversations. People who really have lived in environments. And, you know, one of the things we were talking about, I said, you know, even for what we're aware of and what we're exposed to, when it really boils down to it, that was surface level compared to what really exists. And we're aware of that. You're like, oh, that wasn't even, and there's so many people just don't even see it when they were working in the same environments we were. So yeah, that was fun. Picked up magazines for vision boarding. Got some creative juices from Hobby Lobby. I was like, oh, I could, you know, like, I don't know if anybody's like that. You're like, I'm just going to go in and see what they got for fabric. And then the next thing I know, I'm like, oh, there's like 70% off. And I know it's a consumerism thing. They get you with the percentage off. And meanwhile, I'm looking at it going, and you know how much it probably cost them? And they mark it up like 3,000%. So when you see a 40% or a 70% off sale, I'm like, okay, so they could clearly afford that, and then they're still making money. They never lose money, people. It's just crazy. Quite disgusting too. And most of the stuff, if they don't end, in the end, the amount of people that pay top dollar for things, typically the amount that they sell, as long as they hit a certain benchmark, the rest of it is just superfluous. It's extra. So they always make their mark. If you really look at, you know, accounting systems and companies and stuff, yeah, boy, are we duped. And don't even get me started with the technology stuff, because that was the other conversation Mark and I were having around how most stuff is obsolete before it even goes out the door, and we're like at least 25 to 30 years behind the actual technology that we have. It's like, yeah. Anyway, so the message that came through today for all this cool stuff that I was sifting through, ultimately, are you ready? Did you feel the energy shift? Because it happened. Mercury's in shadow retrograde too, by the way. I love I love retrogrades. You know why? Because to me, they're do-overs. Paying stricter attention to anything communication, transportation. You don't necessarily want to buy anything brand new. You may have to go back over and do it again, a redo later. And sometimes if you do sign a contract or you do start something, just the awareness that something might have to be tweaked later down the road because you weren't paying attention at the time is okay too. But I always put the letters RE in front of Mercury retrograde type stuff. It's never a brand new thing. It's a revisit of something. Excuse me. It's a little revisit. It's a redo, a resolution, a refund. It's a reworking. It's maybe you even change your look. You know, maybe I need a new look. Whatever it is, make it fun, make it playful. Find ways to use it to your advantage. That's what I like to do with this. I make a game of it. And I know we've got some energies where you want to jump and go forward, but I understand there's a whole Mars retrograde thing going on. And sometimes we got to be more attuned to whether or not it's in alignment with our heart and soul, or if it's just our head trying to get ahead, literally, right? And projecting into the future. Because some of us have been feeling like, okay, I've been dampened, my energy's been depleted, like I'm ready to rock and roll, especially with the new year coming, right? Like, okay, let's do this. Let's get going. Can you slow down even though you feel this desire to speed up? During this time, this is going to be the time you want to be very grounded, very much in your body. You got to move it. You got to keep yourself limber, flexibility, stretching. Whatever it is you haven't been doing, consider doing it. Whatever it is you've been avoiding, just take a look at it. Don't get afraid of it. Lean into it. Sit with the journal and a pen, whatever's coming up. I had a friend of mine reach out the other day, and they had a very emotional situation, and I just suggested, whatever you're feeling, write it, because it's very cathartic. Whatever it is that's coming up is coming up because it was still seeking to be healed and felt. A lot of us don't realize that when something is being churned up, like, oh, I thought I was over that. Well, clearly not, because you're revisiting it. Again. And that's the same with Mars. Revisiting. Look at what you're feeling. Feel what you're feeling. Can you be okay? And even if it doesn't feel all okay, like I say, beyond addiction, that's part of our spiel, is it's not always about feeling good. It's getting good at feeling. We train in addiction, because addiction is trying to numb the pain. We're running from it. We don't want to feel it. We're suppressing it, but yet we don't see how we're expressing it. What you suppress, you express, conscious or unconscious. How aware are you of your own behaviors? A lot of times when people are trying to hide things, that's when they stick out the most. So, the joke that I say is, you don't think your shit shows, but chances are your shit is right out there being advertised for everyone to see it. You're the only one who's turning a blind eye to your own shit, like cognitive dissonance, Oh, if I don't look at my own stuff, maybe it won't exist. I'm sorry. If everybody else is seeing it, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And I gotta share this. This was so cute. I was listening to, I don't know if you know, for the women, Rewilding for Women with Sabrina Lynn. I love her. I've been following her for years. She's a fellow Leo as well. I want to reach out to her and do a collab, because seriously, she's on my level. Anyway, she said, if it doesn't work, chuck it in a fuck it bucket. I was like, oh, I'm going to use that and share it. I love stuff like that. Chuck it in the fuck it bucket. It rhymes, and there's reason. If it doesn't align, chuck it in the fuck it bucket. Meaning, stop wasting your energy. Get rid of it. Designate a bucket. And this is my suggestion. If you sit down and stuff starts coming up and you're like, ugh, I don't like how this is feeling. So this is another great opportunity with the solstice, with the new moon that's coming up this week. We still have a new moon, right? So this new moon energy. Before the new moon, between now and the new moon, this is when you want to chuck it in the fuck it bucket. Whatever it is you want to purge, you want to get rid of. Usually do that after the full moon, because you want to get rid of. And then you want to be free of, so that you have a clear vessel to receive. You got to make space to allow the new in. That's hence the new moon. You want to create from the empty womb, or the void, we call it too, by the way. The womb and the void are very similar. They're pretty much the same. So you chuck it in the fuck it bucket. You write down your list. You can even use that as an opportunity to maybe go make a fire pit outside. Make sure you check and you do what you got to do. That's safe. Don't get in trouble for stuff like that. And burn, baby, burn. Chuck it in the fuck it bucket and then go burn it. Got to clear space to allow what it is you desire. And I think, if anything, we need to be getting clearer and clearer. This whole past couple years is all about being cleared, like literally the phoenix rising, like everybody's being purged. It's like the rotor-rooter energy going through you and clearing out all the crevices, the stuff that you weren't addressing because you were suppressing is now coming up. And this is where we're at. And this is the time. And this is what I wrote down. This is my other thing. And I wrote it in the comments. Tap in. So we're tapping into the energies. It is time. Everything up to this point you've been working on. Those of you who've been consciously, even those of you unconsciously, shit's about to get real. Tap in. Go within. It's an internal job. Only you can do it from within. Otherwise, you're going to go without. And you're going to be at the mercy of other stuff. You don't want that. If you're at the mercy of other stuff, it's influencing. You're allowing them to penetrate, infiltrate, filtering, trait, like that's like lodging itself in you. Influence, you just fluidly just letting it come on in because you're not being selective in what you allow into your body, your being, through your five senses. Again, I love words, and I can break down words left and right. And I love when I see the connections and the dots. And this is my little gift. I love doing this stuff. I love talking to James. And I was listening to James' video the other day. Like every time I listen to his video, I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. And I listen to different decoders too. And then I listen to their verbiage. And I'm like, oh my God, we're on the same wavelength. Like these are wordsmiths, true languaging people who seek out the irony, the epiphanies of languages. Because there's clues in the words we use. Clues, use. Use those clues to really clue in. Because that's part of the game of life, is seeing the patterns, seeing the signs. That's where you need to tap in. Then you need to tune up. And I mean like turn up your juice. Because this next year, it's going to be about you knowing you so well. You know to trust thyself. Because when you know thyself, you know you can trust yourself. When you own all your parts. No more fragmenting. No more giving away our piece in pieces. When we reclaim ourselves, we know ourselves so well, and you can trust that you know yourself so well. All the stuff that's going to be thrown at you isn't going to catch you off guard. This is what we've been pretty much, at least what I've been paying attention to, of what's coming down the pipeline and has been for a long time. This has been generations in the works. And this is just a repeat lesson. This is just another reset going on. It's our time. It's our turn to reset ourselves in the direction that we desire, not the way we're being told it needs to go. So we tap in, we tune up, and then it's time to turn on. What does that mean? Do you know when we come together in community, we're more powerful? And when we come back together in community, we are like the cells of the collective body. Have you ever heard, there's a song by 𝐒𝐚𝐬, cells of the collective, cells of the subliminal, like ultimately, and we're going to go back to the bees because the hums is the vibration, is the frequency. We are the freaking keys unlocking each other's codes. But we're meant to engage and become the ciphers, unlocking our knowledge, our gifts, the wisdom, the gnosis, the deep knowing with the G that has always been in you. When we remember, it's not just a memory, it's a gnosis. It's a connecting with one another. Because the more we individually remember and collectively reunite and remember, the more powerful we are as a collective. It's up to us to choose this, though. All this divisiveness, pick a party, pick a side, pick a sports team, pick a celebrity, all distractions, all meant to keep you infiltrated, influenced, zombified and feeding the machine. Another brick in the wall, Pink Floyd, right? Welcome to the machine. Again, those are harnessing your energy. And I just posted an old quote from one of my other videos. Our minds are the banks. Our thoughts are the currency. The frequency we emit is essentially the focus and attention we give. That is our guided energy, just like a bullet, just like a rocket. When we allow our energy to be hijacked to any thoughts outside of the present moment, we become fragmented from our personal power, whether we're projecting it into the past or the future. So we're literally, with the currency of our thoughts, currency as in money too. That's why they use the word appreciation, because whether you are grateful for it or you don't like it, your attention creates the appreciation, which creates the interest that creates more of it, the manifestation of it. So again, we are the bankers of our lives, and we are literally paying for our experiences with our energy. When we talk about the real true currency, the real true commodity in this world, it is us. We are the data. But it's not the data as in our beings, it's our energy, the frequency that we feed toward whatever it is we focus on. So where attention goes, energy flows. And the more you focus on something, whether it's what you like or don't like, or if you're neutral and present in the now, when you go anywhere but here, you've already essentially given away your power. They know that. This is basic psychology. And to harness you is to hijack you, is to keep you fragmented, not trusting yourself. This is where we need to be. Individually, you need to start to trust yourself, because if you can't trust you, you're not going to be able to know who to trust around you. Because a lot of stuff's going to start coming at people, and they're going to be like, whoa, overload. I don't know what to do here. And this can leave a person in a state of like literal shock, awe, catatonic, paralysis, because they know if they can confuse you, that's another form of stress, a trauma response that puts you in that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And when you become emotional as a result of it, because it triggers something in your past that is still unresolved, if it's still something you're not addressing, it will come up. And as a result, they understand that that's how they can feed off of you. Because when you become emotional, good old codependent toxic relationship, they'll swoop in with I've got a solution for that. You're emotional? Oh, you poor thing. You're a victim. Let me be your savior. Wherever there's a problem, they will provide a solution. But see, again, that's the hijacking, the 𝐕𝐞𝐭 of the mind. The mind virus is every thought is a problem seeking to be solved. That's hijacking you out of the present. The gift of the now. You don't have problems when you're present, because you're just being. And a true person in their presence and their personal power, those are the people you are drawn to when you see someone like, wow, I want what she's got. Or, oh my God, he's just, wow, his presence. You see someone, you're like, you feel their presence because they're fully present. It's what that energy is that you're like so attracted and drawn to. Because it's unlocking their frequent keys, their frequency is affecting you and unlocking yours. But sometimes it triggers a wound in someone. It triggers the, I'm not worthy. It triggers the, I don't like that person because they're showing something I don't own in myself. So you got to own that stuff. If you recognize, like, do you notice when you see someone with the powerful presence, are you like, oh, wow, that's inspiring me? Or if you're like, nah, look at him, and you're cutting it down, all you're doing, when you judge another, you're breaking your own heart, because that's a boomerang. You're judging yourself. They're mirroring what they themselves have that are mirroring to you is what is in you. If you can acknowledge how that affects you, when someone walks in a room and they light it up and they have such a powerful presence, that they're unlocking something within you, whether it's your trauma or it's your confidence, it's your wholeness. Because either way, it's showing you about yourself. In that moment, whatever arises for you, again, like I say, If it triggers you, it's your work to do. If it inspires you, there's something for you too. Just pay attention more often to, the way that someone touches you, because we're all touching each other, even if we're not reaching out and touching ourselves. I mean, each other. Hey, come on. Feels like a Friday. I was saying that to somebody. I was having so much fun at the Hobby Lobby. I was walking down aisles and women with carts, and they're all like, I'm like, huh, I only came in for one thing too. How about you? And we just started laughing. I had that conversation with so many people. It's like, oh, my kids are in the car. I said, was it their choice or yours? They chose. I said, they'll learn their lesson next time. But life is meant to be fun. But in this time we're at right now, we are about to really be ramped up. And if you haven't already been tuning into yourself, now is the time. Please, for your own sake. I'm not worried about mine. I'm not worried about yours either, because one way or the other, it will be revealed to you. It's whether you are willing to allow it sooner, or if you're going to let it linger, longer, fester, it's all a choice. Because the opportunity will always present itself again. But now we've got momentum coming. So if you're ready, get ready to ride those waves, because we're in for one hell of a ride. That's the energy sensing that I've been getting. And just, every once in a while, stop and assess, reassess, be present. Whenever you catch the mind going in its crazy, be okay with it. Like, oh, look at you. It's not who you are. It's a product of many years of conditioning. Can you be okay with that? That you have to unlearn it? And that if you're not willing to confront or to face or to be present with it, definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over again. We got some opportunities here, people. And if I can get through some of this heaviness, then I can't see why anybody else can't. Sometimes it feels like it's like, oh my God. Oh, by the way, I'm a little dramatic in my own right, and I own that. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, I have my moments, but I make it fun. I'm like, again, my friends are all like, she's a little bit, we like her silly. I like my cray-cray with the side of my friend's cray-cray. Like, I like my weirdo. I like everything about myself. If you can't like everything about yourself, boy, stop being so serious about everything. We're supposed to be flawed, because that's what God's source wanted, is each one of us to have a different expression, to be an opportunity for source to feel through us. So when we really start labeling things, we're taking away from just the experience. So much more. But anyway, I didn't intend to go this long, but here I am. I will start on, it's in the other room, the politics of experience soon, but I am just taking it easy, because, life is not always easy, and we need to slow down and be present in the moment. I'm excited because I cannot wait to share the New Year, New You mini retreat. I get to share myself and this beautiful gong that I'm getting. I've been wanting one of these for a very long time. So this is a huge, huge gift, not just of myself, because it's a gift of myself, but expressed through this beautiful piece, this beautiful instrument. And I have another instrument I might as well be getting to that I'm even more excited about now that I'm thinking about it. And I will be doing an unboxing, so it will be presented on this channel too. So thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, sharing is caring. If this touched you in some way, shape, or form, remember to click the share. You never know who this could uplift, support, inspire, and empower. And again, click the notifications bell, subscribe, do all that jive, because, be kind and subscribe. And my understanding is YouTube seems to have been dropping off some of the subscribers. I had to go into someone else's channel and resubscribe and click their notifications. And I was like, I know I didn't unsubscribe because I've been following her for years. So I'm just warning you, if you haven't gotten notifications, it could be that you need to go double check that you're subscribed to me. Weird stuff is going on, just saying. It's technology, it's glitchy, it's Mercury retrograde. So be kind with yourself, be compassionate, slow down. Be gentle with your heart. Tap into your inner child, have more fun. Connect. Remember, frequencies, frequent keys. Thank you, Erin. Happy holidays if I don't see any of you, or come on here between now and Christmas, or whatever it is you celebrate. Season's greetings. When it really boils down to it, the most important thing that you should be doing is spending it with those who you love, who love you, who celebrate you, and you celebrate them. And it makes you feel good. Remember, we're here to support. We're here to serve one another. I'm not talking about slave serve either. That's a whole different thing. It should come from your heart. Don't ever do anything that doesn't come from your heart, because that usually is what creates your suffering, is doing things from the wrong place. Which one is it? Ego. Heart. The heart sings. The ego. Yeah, craziness. All right, I love you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. So much love. Mwah!